welcome back to the business track. I hope you had a great lunch, lots of conversations and learnings. So now we are welcoming James Blake from Vertex, one of our headline sponsors. He's been around for 20 years, and he worked at retailers like Abercrombie & Fitch and solution integrators like Accenture, so he knows a thing or two about retail e-commerce finance. So he's leading the retail practice at Vertex, and he's going to present how to maximize seller impact and reach with omnichannel retailing. Please welcome James.
20 years. It's a long time. All right. Good afternoon. Is everybody pumped about talking about sales tax after lunch? Just like me? Cool. All right. Let's get into it. So, James Blake, been in finance or technology for most of my career. Today, I'm in a retail consulting practice. So I lead the retail consulting practice at Vertex. Basically what that means is there's a team of tax and IT professionals responsible for implementing our solutions in sales tax for our customers. Let's move on. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about who Vertex is as a company, what do we do, what's important about Omnichannel, why is it a big deal, types of things you need to consider when you're thinking about switching into an Omnichannel type solution, any tax considerations tied to that, and then how Vertex can help, right? How we can mitigate some of the risk involved with switching to Omnichannel. So who are we? We're a tax technology software company. We have about 4,000 or so customers growing across the world, actually. We support about 130 countries, and about 60% of the Fortune 500 trust us to be their tax technology partner. We've been in business about 40 years and started really as a content company. Our founder would take the time to consolidate tax law into a binder and ship it out to subscribers. And that's how it started. We started consolidating that information electronically, building integrations to it, which brings us into who we are today. All right, so what do? We focus on powerful end-to-end tax solutions, not just calculation, but really taking a step back and thinking about the entire tax function. Our solutions scale across multiple industries, across tax authorities across the world, different financial applications. Our solutions are scalable, modularized, if you will, so you can piece them together to fit your business needs, right? From small, medium to large business, we can put a solution together that fits. And from end to end, right? From product classification, tax determination, reporting and compliance, and all in between. That's really our focus. We like to say we live at the cornerstone of commerce and compliance, right? So I know this is an e-commerce show, and there's nothing about tax that's exciting about it, like the latest bells and whistles of the latest Magento solution. But essentially, there's a tax component to every transaction. And so although it's not exciting, it's pretty important. On the left-hand side here, you see all the different types of commerce transactions that can be made. And on the right, it's things that keep tax directors and managers up at night, compliance. And so we like to create synergy between the two, and our solutions reflect that. So what's the deal with Omnichannel? Why is it a big deal? Traditionally, I think Omnichannel started as more of an inventory management type strategy, right, where you blur the lines between your e-commerce and brick-and-mortar sales channels. But customer expectations with the advent of technology and just the convenience that's come along with just in general in society, those same conveniences are extended into the commerce marketplace, right? Customers want what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. So COVID-19 really accelerated that, right? Retailers that were positioned to do more omnichannel or direct-to-consumer business, they managed that a lot more in a lot more nimble fashion. Those that didn't make that transition had a difficult time. Customers are really in this emergency type of mentality, right? We've survived major recession, pandemic, and even though those things are pretty much behind us, the economy's still reeling, and there's still effects of that. And so customers, their behavior is in alignment with that, right? There's kind of a shift to value and accessibility. So, Omnichannel is really a central component to that because it's evolved from just blurring the lines between brick and mortar and e-commerce to really creating a customer-centric experience across all your touch points. So it's not just about your sales channels, it's about everything, really taking a step back and looking at it from the customer's perspective, creating a unified experience across marketing as well as commerce. Accessibility and flexibility, right? Customers love to be able to buy online, pick up in store, or buy in one store, return in another type of thing. I've even seen customers do things like buy things and have it shipped to their hotel on vacation. So they really expect to have that flexibility interacting with your products and services. All right, so if you want to go to Omnichannel, what types of things do you need to consider? So at a high level, I'll put a list together here. Integrated product master data. So I come from industry. When I was at Abercrombie, we started this journey years ago. And at the time, we managed two completely different sets of SKUs for brick and mortar and retail, or brick and mortar and e-commerce, which made it impossible to do anything omnichannel set up that way. So before we could even start that, we had to merge that, right? And even though you might not sell everything on one channel that you do on the other, you should have the ability to. And if you're market research and your consumer behavior kind of leads you to a place where it makes sense to sell something in the store that maybe you didn't, you should be able to nimbly make that shift. Having integrated product master data where across all your financial applications are sharing that same SKU master is important. In tandem with that is integrated inventory. Right? Your order management system needs to be able to look across not just your warehouses, but also your stores. Right? Not just know how much of a particular product it has, but maybe source it from a location that's cheapest to ship to the customer. You should really think about mapping the entire customer journey. Right? So how are they interacting with your brand across your touch points? What kind of customer insights can be gained? You can target specific marketing at those different maps. Right? And it's kind of a feedback loop where you consolidate the consumer behavior, see how they're using your products and services, see how they're integrating with you around touch points, create marketing campaigns, and then map those journeys. Integrated returns, how you manage a merchandise return from an inventory or accounting perspective, it's much different than what you need to do from a tax perspective. And so really all of your systems need to talk to one another so that if I buy something online and return it in the store, I have all the information I need to facilitate that transaction. And then obviously having a mobile-friendly website. Believe it or not, there are still websites out there that are not easily viewed or interacted with on a handheld or a mobile device. I read a stat somewhere that said about 79% of smartphone users will make a purchase on their phone within 6 months. Right? So you really need to be able to navigate your website efficiently on a smartphone. What about tax? Tax is really at a high level. It's about what you're selling, where you're selling it, how and when. So what are you selling? How you classify tax or how you classify merchandise is completely different from how you classify it for tax. I don't know how many of you are aware, but there are really strange nuances to sales tax. Clothing, for example. Children's clothing may be taxed differently than adult clothing. Swimsuits don't always classify as clothing. Candy with or without flour, taxed differently. Or even any intended use of something. If I buy a bagel, it's one tax rate, but if I have the seller heat it up for me, it could be taxed differently. So really classifying your merchandise and making your merchandise hierarchy sensitive by tax as opposed to however your merchants would classify it is important. I've seen customers separate the two and have completely different organization of their products by tax. How are you selling it? There could be a tax component to different sales channels, where you're shipping from stores, online, in-store, selling from vending machines, or even on a marketplace. Each of these, there are tax laws that are specific to each of those. Tax authorities are just as hungry for revenue as we are. So they're always coming up with creative ways to generate revenue based upon commerce trends. What about your locations? So traditionally, in any e-commerce sales channel, you may have a warehouse or two, and you ship everything from there. And depending upon where that warehouse is located, it may not have a lot of tax implications. Most of the time, taxes due wherever the merchandise changes hands, which would be your customer, their address. However, when you start shipping from store, there are authorities out there that have origin components to the tax rate, right? So depending upon where the merchandise originates from can change what tax you should charge the customer. Any additional touch points? I've seen retailers get really creative around trying to reach the customer. Brick or handhelds, kiosk, vending machines. I mean, whatever the case may be, you need to do research and make sure that there's not a tax component or a tax law specific to that sales channel. And these last two here have to do with more of a systems perspective. Are you ready for brick and mortar? If you're shipping from the store, each store has to have every other store's tax rate, as well as zip code, tax rates by zip code. You need to be able to do that, which kind of changes the way you push data down into the stores. And then infrastructure. Think performance and scalability, which is really popular with cloud solutions where Black Friday, Cyber Monday, your business expands. Your tax engine needs to expand as well. Right? So how can Vertex help? Well, every tax solution starts with a centralized tax engine. A lot of times when we help customers shift and manage a tax solution, they're managing tax separately in each financial system. Right? Their tax and IT departments have to figure out how to update, the ERP tax rates differently from point of sale and so on and so forth, which doesn't really create a unified experience. If I'm a customer and I order online and pick up in store, I should get the same tax rate that I would if I walk into the store and purchase a product. And that seems obvious, but if they're both being calculated by two separate systems, there's a chance that doesn't happen. It creates a bad customer experience. So centralizing your tax engine, having every financial application talk to one system to facilitate the tax function is important. Mixed deployment models. Solutions can be in a public cloud, which is essentially software as a service, private cloud, think infrastructure as a service, or even on-premise. You can install it wherever you like. Our tax engine allows you to integrate real-time, think web service calls. You're going through the checkout process, adding things to the cart. It updates with the tax rate. You can also do distributed tax, where we take the core content out of our system and load it into a target system, like a point-of-sale system. And then Edge, which is kind of the future of tax, which really merges those two approaches. You still manage taxation centrally, but we can take a small footprint and place that tax engine locally, right, at the point of use, really allowing you to scale and get the right tax determination using a system designed for tax. Tax links and connectors. I know we have a Magento connector. Essentially, think standard middleware. Instead of spending months upon months building custom integrations between the tax engine and your financial applications, you can buy one off the shelf, right, that's supported by a technology provider, install it, and get you up and running pretty quickly. And then just reporting and compliance. Calculating tax is just half the battle, right? Although we might spend a lot of time there, IT resources, at the end of the day, the whole solution is for the tax department to put certain dollars on the return. So we have solutions that can do that, and those solutions can also be used in cloud, on-premise, or even outsourced. All right. Just a brief slide here kind of goes over the nuances of what a hybrid or omni-channel solution might look like. Gets a little in the weeds here, but I'll keep it brief. The block boxes on the left just represent all the different types of financial applications that you could integrate with a central tax engine. The green box is our main core product, O-Series, which is our tax engine. And then we have across the bottom there 3-4 different ways to integrate with it. So on the left, it's just a standard e-commerce solution where the e-commerce platform makes a web service call to get tax. We also have what I talked about earlier, Edge, the little blue box there on the e-commerce box, for failover, right? If for whatever reason my e-commerce solution can't reach the tax engine across the internet, I have a backup local to the e-com solution that calculates tax the exact same way. In the middle, Retail tax extract, fancy term for just extracting the rate content out of our system and loading into the target. In this example, it's a point of sale. A lot of retailers like the point of sale to operate on an island, not really, doesn't need to have real-time connectivity to the internet, right? So that there's no dependency there for checkout. And then the last one there on the right, which really doesn't have anything to do with tax calculation. It's more about compliance, where you can essentially take transaction information and load it into the tax engine, right? We have all the rates and rules across all the jurisdictions, all the different types of impositions, and we can break apart and store tax information in our system just like we can put it together to derive a tax rate. So that transaction data is then consolidated into the tax engine and then used to file tax returns from a system that's designed for tax. And then we have solutions for that, not really outlined here, but there are solutions that you can use to file the tax return. Think of it kind of like a TurboTax for corporations that has all the forms, facilitates filling those out for you. You could outsource it, or you could store that system in the cloud, so on and so forth. Pretty much concludes the presentation. I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you may have. No? Come on. Tax is exciting.
Tax. Surely you have some questions. It's not that simple.
No? Sure.
Sorry if I missed this in the presentation. What is planning on expanding with tax management?
Absolutely. Different countries have different ways of doing tax. So here in the U.S., or in North America in general, tax is added onto the price of an item at the end, right? So you have to have a calculation. A lot of other countries do what we call VAT, right, which there isn't really a calculation needed, but there's a lot of back office reporting and processing needed to recover some of that VAT. So our solutions can help you with that as well. Yeah.
Do you manage tax holidays?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So our system, all of the rates and rules are effective dated. So a sales tax holiday is essentially just a temporary rate change. So we have a bunch of different categories that we track, and each, the ones that qualify for sales tax holidays, we track that. It's automatic. Anything else?
The local government tax changes policies, because like in India, there are certain times where in a yearly 2 times the tax rates are getting changed for certain category.
Exactly. Yes, we update our system. Cloud and infrastructure as a service solutions automatically get updated with the rate content. For any of our on-premise customers, we push those changes out to them to apply to the application. Right now, we cover most industries. I mean, our content is always expanding, but for the content we support, it gets automatically updated. Okay. You always have the ability to, tax isn't always, it's left to interpretation. So our company will kind of make interpretation of tax law and kind of make that the default in the system. But any tax rate can always be overridden by the customer if they don't agree with it. Okay. Come on, those are easy.
You should prepare a quiz.
Yeah. No more? All right.
All right. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
So if you have any more questions, there's a Vertex booth in the marketplace, and you can come and talk about your specific challenges with taxes.